Good evening, my fellow citizens. This government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba. I call upon Chairman Khrushchev to halt and eliminate this clandestine, reckless, and provocative threat to world peace.
If people are afraid to speak your name in public, if your secret police keeps order, as his did, I don't think any of those facts are up for dispute. How could anything about him be good? How could anything about him be good?
You're forgetting the facts. So I know this is unpopular
I noticed the obvious.
people.
I didn't ask the obvious question, Professor, which is, Cuba's so great, why didn't you move there? Why are you in a tenured profession in the United States? But unfortunately, we're out of time. I guess the answer is obvious. It's that hole, and no one would want to move there. Thanks a lot for joining us.
We will not lift sanctions on the Cuban regime until all political prisoners are freed. Freedoms of assembly and expression are respected. All political parties are legalized, and free and internationally supervised elections are scheduled. Elections.
Is this what comes to mind when you think of Cuba? A dictator-ran police state with no elections, no freedom of expression? Unfortunately, this is how the majority of people see Cuba, and that's due to a severe misinformation act by the US. To flip the script on how inhumane the blockade really is, so the US can say, we're fighting for the rights of the Cuban people, when it's really quite the opposite.
It's very important to understand that we are coming to Cuba precisely because it is a blockaded country. And that blockade has real repercussions in Cuba. Cuba is a poor country. Cuba is a country that's trying to develop its economy, but facing many challenges. The big one being the US embargo.
You gonna do this, okay? You're gonna colonize, do invasion, regime change, and everything. Are you not gonna behave the way we want it? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go against you. That's the whole point behind here. But every time you hear USA foreign policy, this is what is unique in the US. In the US, we produced foreign policy with domestic policy. What is good for us is good for everybody. And because it's good for us, we don't need to talk to you. We know the type of government that is good for you. So be ready to dismantle that kind of way of thinking.
Yeah. The essence of what Cuba is going through right now is that it has to develop its economy to meet the needs of 11 million people, while it has the US empire sitting on its throne. It's a very cruel image. So imagine all the challenges that need to be met. And the Cubans are going to want to share about how is it that they're dealing with this on all different levels.
Every year in the United Nations General Assembly, a resolution is approved. The overwhelming majority of the international community has conveyed the message that the blockade is a policy that has to be ended. And as we have said many occasions, it's a genocide policy that has to be recognized as such. I mean, it's not an embargo, it's not a commercial measure to address a specific issue. It's a policy that has caused a lot of harm to the human rights of 11 million persons living in this country.
The embargo is not affecting only Cuba. To my point of view, it's a two-sharp-sized sword that is affecting both countries. I mean, and we could benefit millions of people if we establish partnership, and we can benefit. So the embargo is affecting not only Cuba, it's affecting the population of both countries, because if the registration of a therapy is going to last 3 years, what could be done in 1 year less, people will die during this year because they will not access a therapy that with partnership probably will be ready sooner. So this is the main obstacle I see.
Really, what's needed is for people to travel to Cuba to see it for themselves, and that's why we organize these delegations and caravans to Cuba. The U.S. government wants to put licenses on, they want to license our travel. And what that means is that they want to dictate how we go, who we see when we're there, how long we're there, and put all kinds of restrictions on the interactions that we have when we're in Cuba.
One thing that struck me about Cuba is even with all the setbacks they've had to face, they're still prioritizing the people through free education all the way through college, free healthcare, and the list goes on. And with all that, they're still some of the first to respond to other countries when they need it most, like the Angola War, or the Ebola crisis, the earthquake in Haiti. They even offered their support after Hurricane Katrina, which the US denied.
When there is hurricane, you see the police and the army rescuing people. And when you move on Havana Street, you feel safe, no violence. And always you can see in a corner, if you are lucky, a police officer, most of the time is smiling. Not with a gun, not with a machine gun, smiling, enjoying life. So why I have to hate my army and I have to hate my police? How you are going to rule the country that is not your country? How you are going to establish guidelines? Big mistake. This is the characteristic of the Cuban biotech system that is unique. For example, you are from different cities in US. In all the cities you are living, there are biotech companies, I am sure. But the companies do not talk to each other because there is a competition. In Cuba, competition between biotech organizations is forbidden. Because if we are a poor country and you put organizations to compete, we will have many losers and few winners. But if you put everybody to collaborate and you manage to hit the market, you get your piece of the cake, you go on the final picture, and you cover your costs. Believe me, not people from Switzerland, from Mexico, from US will come to Cuba to become scientists for the salary. No, but I have no price. I feel better in Cuba healing children than being in Monsanto, having a good salary and not taking care about the mess I create.
Art is part of our life, it's part of our identity. It's also a way to express about our ideas, about our fashion, about our music. Well, to be a filmmaker, to be an artist, a painter, a writer, is a lot of passion. It's a necessity to communicate something, some ideas. It's also to be close to the lack of resources, but you need to struggle because to make art, at least that you are free, rich people, you need to get a lot of courage, to struggle and fight for your idea. So it's nothing unique, different to another part of the world. But at the end, I am working around a part of the Cuban history, and I feel proud to do this kind of work. I like it.
¡Viva! ¡Viva la Virgen de los Pueblos! ¡Viva!
Every year in the United Nations General Assembly, a resolution is approved with the overwhelming majority of the international community has conveyed the message that the blockade is a policy that has to be ended. It's a policy that has caused enormous sacrifices, has caused harm to the Cuban people, to other countries as well. Any normalization process between Cuba and the United States will not be a simple one, will not be a short process in terms of duration, because we were trying to address and to rectify a number of policies that were put in place since the start of the Cuban Revolution. And because of that, those policies of hostility, a number of other consequences were there. And it is difficult, obviously, to address those issues. We have said it from the very beginning. We understand that the new policy we started with the Obama administration, their goal was actually to update the tools, but that the strategic goal remained. So the Cuban people is very conscious about that, and it should be said from the very beginning. We can say that we obviously straightforward reject the strategic goal, and if with the new approach we want to do certain things, well, we will see on a case-by-case thinking, and those who, for example, might rectify certain things that were done in the past, well, we obviously will accept those. Because, for example, I've mentioned a number of steps that were taken, that were positive. But others will be rejected. I mean, if you say, for example, that you want to put in place an agreement for environmental issues, well, that is something that we applaud. But if you continue funding the so-called democracy promotion programs, then we, frankly speaking, say that we reject those. And you have to rectify those unilaterally, by the way, because there are a number of issues that were put in place on a unilateral approach. Cuba does not fund any program aimed at subverting the economic order in the United States or the constitutional order. Cuba has no naval base in the U.S. territory. Cuba has no TV or radio stations broadcasting illegally towards the United States. So we cannot put that on the table and to say on a quid pro quo approach that we will do that so that you can leave the blockade or delete the democracy promotion program. Those are unilateral policies and they should be removed unilaterally.
And this isn't to say Cuba's this perfect place with no problems. They're still working through internal issues, like any country. But it is to say, there's no reason the blockade should still be in place.
But the reality is that we have endured for many years similar policies, and the results are evident. We Cubans are here after more than 50 years, and we will be here with our model of society for many years to come.